Super 25 of North American Big Game was introduced into the GSCO family of slams in 2011. To qualify, Hunter has to have completed the Super 10. After that, any other 15 trophies on the list can be used for the Super 25 level. Now that you know the extreme difficulty in obtaining this milestone, we'll move along to recognize several who've achieved their Super 25s recently, including one archery Super 25 holder. We're pleased to recognize Chipper Dipple of Texas for achieving his Super 25 milestone with a Central Canadian Barren Ground Caribou taken in October 2023 while hunting in Nunavut. We'd like to show you some of Chipper's earlier trophies, which include his Alaska Yukon moose that he took in September 2004 in the Yukon. Next, you'll see his Alaska Brown Bear taken in May of 2008. That same year, Chipper got his Roosevelt Elk in British Columbia. And then in February 2012, he was able to take a great desert mule deer on a trip to Sonora, Mexico. Frank Fakovec of Texas began his big game hunting journey back in the 1990s. One of his earliest entries was an American mountain goat that he took in Alaska in August 1994. Then in September of that same year, Frank was able to connect with a great Alaska Yukon moose. Moving forward to 1999, Frank was in Quebec, where he was able to get a Quebec Labrador caribou. In December 2022, he traveled to Mexico, where he took his desert mule deer. Frank completed his Super 25 milestone in August 2022 with a Dall sheep. He took on a trip to the Northwest Territories. It was the Thule elk that earned Bill Holman of Pennsylvania his Super 25. But Bill's other trophies along the way include his white-tailed deer. He took in Saskatchewan in November 1997. September 2002, he traveled to Alaska to take his Barren Ground caribou. Then in November 2005, he was in Utah, where he was able to connect with a great Rocky Mountain elk. September 2015 found Bill in Nunavut, where he took his Central Canadian Barren Ground caribou. And last, we show you the Alaska Yukon moose that Bill took while hunting in the Yukon in September 2016. We're pleased to recognize Ralph Markham of Alabama for achieving his Super 25 milestone with the Rocky Mountain elk from Colorado taken back in October 2016. In June 2000, Ralph was in Saskatchewan where he was able to get his black bear. Then in August 2009, he traveled to California and connected with a Columbia black-tailed deer. In September 2010, Ralph was in Utah and was able to get a Shiras moose. And finally, we show you his Quebec Labrador caribou that he got in Quebec back in September 2015. Idaho's Craig Mueller finished his Super 25 very recently in December 2023. Some of his trophies include an Alaska Yukon moose that he got back in September 2017 in the Yukon and a Rocky Mountain mule deer taken in his home state of Idaho in 2018. Craig connected on an American mountain goat in October 2019 in British Columbia. His mountain caribou was taken in NWT in August 2022, and we finished with a Shiras moose that he took in southern British Columbia back in November 2022. Next, we call Louis Polish Jr. of Nevada to the stage to receive his Super 25 award. Number 25 on the list for Louis was a Central Canadian Barren Ground caribou that he took in Greenland while hunting in September 2023. That same year, while hunting in Alaska, he was able to get his 24th trophy, and that was a grizzly bear. Backing up to 2019, Louis took an American mountain goat in August in Alaska. Then in September, he was in California and was able to get his Roosevelt elk. We finished by showing you Louis's Alaska Yukon moose that he took in September 2013 on a hunt in Alaska. South Carolina's Brian Tallarico is up next, and he achieved his Super 25 award on a trip to Vancouver Island, British Columbia in October 2023, where he scored on a Roosevelt elk. Backing up in October 2010, he was in British Columbia once again, where he connected on a fine Canada moose. In 2016, Brian traveled to Nunavut, where he successfully hunted a polar bear. And then in 2020, on another trip to Nunavut, Brian got his muskox. We'll finish with a woodland caribou that he took in October 2021 on a hunt in Newfoundland. Arizona's Chris Thays completed his Super 25 in December 2023 with a desert bighorn sheep from Mexico. Number 24 came just 1 month earlier on a hunt in Colorado, and it became a half slammer with a Rocky Mountain bighorn. In May 2023, Chris found himself in Nunavut, where he got his polar bear. In October 2022, he was able to connect with a Rocky Mountain elk in his home state of Arizona. And finally, we show you the woodland caribou Chris got during a trip to Newfoundland, also in October 2022. Now let's call Sean Whipple of Ohio to the stage. Sean was hunting in Alaska in October 2023 and was able to take an American mountain goat, which ironically completed both his Super 10 and Super 25 milestones. We now show some of the other trophies Sean was able to take along the way. In October 2015, he took his Rocky Mountain elk while hunting in Wyoming. Then in April 2016, he traveled to Nunavut to get his polar bear. Speaking of bears, in 2018, Sean made his way up to the Yukon and was able to get his grizzly bear, and on that same trip, he connected with a mountain caribou. We're pleased to recognize Sergei Yastrzemski for completing his Super 25 with a muskox from Nunavut. He got that in April of 2022. Sergei traveled to British Columbia in September 2016 and took his American mountain goat. In September of 2018, he traveled to Alaska, where he connected on a black bear, and on that same Alaska hunt, he also took his Alaska Yukon moose. We'll finish up by showing you his white-tailed deer that he took in November 2019 in Alberta. That completes this group. Tonight we have one bow hunter to recognize for reaching number 25 on the Super Slam list. Montana's Jim Windham completed his archery Super 25 in October 2023 with the Canada Moose. Some of his earlier trophies include a Shiras moose that he arrowed in October 2003 in Montana. And while hunting in Arizona in September 2013, he scored on a Rocky Mountain elk. Moving along, in October 2017, Jim was able to arrow an American mountain goat from his home state of Montana, and he traveled to Nunavut in April 2018 to get his great polar bear. That concludes our Super 25 awards. Let's give them a big round of applause.